Have you ever had that unsettling feeling that someone isn't as fond of you as you might have thought? Maybe they're polite, but something feels a bit off. Whether it's a friend, a coworker, or even a family member, realizing that someone secretly dislikes you can be tough, but it's also incredibly useful to know where you stand. No one wants to waste energy on one-sided connections, right? The truth is, being aware of these subtle signs can help you avoid unnecessary frustration and focus on relationships that bring positivity into your life. Today, we'll look at 7 signs that someone might secretly dislike you. Let's dive into the signs. Number 1. They avoid eye contact with you. Eye contact is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways humans connect. It communicates interest, trust, and empathy. When someone genuinely enjoys your company, they'll naturally make eye contact as you speak. It's a way of showing they're fully present and engaged in the conversation. However, when someone dislikes you, their eye contact, or lack thereof, can reveal how they truly feel. If you notice that someone rarely looks you in the eyes, frequently glances away, or seems to avoid eye contact altogether, it could mean they're uncomfortable around you. This type of behavior suggests they might be hiding their true feelings. They may be reluctant to let you in emotionally, and avoiding eye contact is a subtle way to create distance. Their discomfort might even manifest physically as they shift around, look down, or keep their gaze fixed elsewhere. This isn't always a definitive sign on its own, of course. Some people are naturally shy or may have personal or cultural habits that make them less comfortable with prolonged eye contact. But if you're noticing a consistent pattern of this behavior, especially if they maintain regular eye contact with others, it could indicate that they're uncomfortable or simply not interested in building a connection with you. Paying attention to these cues can provide valuable insights into someone's feelings. Avoiding eye contact is often a subconscious action, so it's typically a genuine indicator of how they feel. It's a way for them to distance themselves emotionally without having to say a word. So if you find that someone consistently avoids meeting your gaze, take it as a hint that they may not be fully open to connecting with you on a deeper level. Understanding this sign can help you navigate relationships with clarity. If someone seems unwilling to meet your eyes, it may be a signal to invest your time and energy elsewhere, with people who appreciate and value your presence. Number 2. They're always too busy. One of the clearest indicators that someone may not value your company is if they're consistently too busy to spend time with you. Sure, everyone has a full schedule now and then, but when someone genuinely enjoys your company, they'll make an effort to fit you into their life, even if it's just for a quick chat or a coffee. If you find yourself constantly extending invitations only to be met with excuses or last-minute cancellations, this could be a sign they're not as invested in the relationship as you are. When someone dislikes you, they'll often use their busyness as a polite way to avoid spending time with you. For instance, they might agree to plans initially but cancel at the last minute with vague reasons like, "Something came up," or "I'm swamped with work." Or they might decline your invitations with the promise that they'll catch up soon, but never actually follow through. If this becomes a pattern, it could mean they're trying to dodge spending time with you without directly saying so. Another red flag to watch for is if they only seem too busy for you specifically. If you see them making time for other friends or activities but rarely fitting you into their schedule, it may indicate that spending time with you isn't a priority for them. This selective busyness can be especially telling, as it suggests they're choosing to put their energy into other relationships instead. It's important to remember that everyone has their own commitments, and being unavailable now and then is perfectly normal. However, if you're consistently the one making plans or initiating contact, and they rarely reciprocate or show up, it may be worth reassessing the relationship. People who value you will make an effort to spend time with you, even if their schedule is packed. Recognizing this sign can save you from investing time and effort into someone who may not feel the same way. If you sense that someone is always too busy to be around you, it might be a cue to redirect your energy toward relationships where your time and presence are genuinely valued. Number 3. Their body language seems closed off. Body language is a powerful form of nonverbal communication, often revealing what words do not. When someone likes you, they tend to have open, welcoming body language. They'll face you directly, lean in, and maintain a relaxed posture. However, if someone secretly dislikes you, their body language will often reflect a desire to distance themselves, even if they're polite or friendly in conversation. Closed-off body language can take various forms. One common sign is crossed arms. This classic gesture creates a physical barrier and suggests a desire to protect themselves or keep their distance. Someone who dislikes you might also angle their body away from you, pointing their feet or torso in a different direction as if they're ready to exit the conversation at any moment. Additionally, they might maintain a significant physical distance, standing or sitting further away than necessary, as if they're consciously or unconsciously trying to create a buffer zone. You may also notice a lack of engagement through other subtle cues. For instance, they might avoid leaning toward you, even when you're speaking. Leaning in is a subconscious sign of interest and attentiveness, so if they stay stiff or lean back, it could indicate disinterest. Another clue can be their hands and legs. When people feel comfortable, their body movements are typically open and relaxed, such as resting their arms by their sides or having their legs uncrossed. However, someone who feels uncomfortable or dislikes you may have tense, closed postures, arms tightly folded, legs crossed, or hands held tightly in their lap. This sign is particularly telling when observed over time and in different situations. If you notice that they're comfortable and open around others but become guarded or distant around you, it's a clear indication that their behavior isn't just a personality quirk. It's specific to their feelings about you. While some people might naturally have more reserved body language, a noticeable difference in how they interact with you versus others is often revealing. Closed-off body language serves as an unconscious way for them to put up emotional and psychological barriers. It's a subtle way of signaling that they're not fully present or interested in engaging with you on a deeper level. By paying attention to these nonverbal cues, you can gain insight into someone's true feelings. Body language is often an honest reflection of our inner emotions. So when you sense that someone is consistently closed off, consider it a sign that they may not be as open to building a meaningful connection. Noticing this can help you understand where you stand and direct your attention toward relationships that feel reciprocal and authentic. Number 4. They don't respond enthusiastically. When someone genuinely enjoys being around you, it shows in their level of enthusiasm. They'll actively engage in conversations, ask questions, and respond with interest. Even the smallest things, like chatting about your weekend plans or sharing a funny story, become moments of connection. But when someone secretly dislikes you, their responses tend to be noticeably flat, brief, or even dismissive. If you've noticed that someone rarely puts effort into conversations with you, or they seem to answer questions out of politeness rather than genuine interest, it may be a sign that they aren't invested in building a relationship with you. You might ask them how their day was, and they respond with a simple fine or okay without elaborating. Or perhaps you share something exciting, like a recent accomplishment or upcoming trip, only to receive a lukewarm, cool, or nice in response. This lack of engagement can be frustrating, especially if you're putting in the effort to connect. Another telltale sign is if they rarely reciprocate by asking questions or showing curiosity about you. In a balanced conversation, both people contribute by asking questions, sharing thoughts, and building on each other's responses. But if you're doing all the work to keep the conversation going and they never seem interested in learning more about you, it could mean they're simply not invested. They may listen just enough to respond politely, but not enough to engage in a meaningful way. People who respond enthusiastically often use positive body language and verbal cues that show they're enjoying the interaction. For example, they might smile, nod, or use active listening words like, "That's interesting," or "Tell me more." On the other hand, someone who secretly dislikes you may lack these cues. They might look away frequently, seem distracted, or respond in a monotone voice, signaling that they're not genuinely engaged. It's important to remember that everyone has off days. Sometimes people are distracted, stressed, or just not in the mood to talk. However, if you notice a consistent pattern of disinterest or lack of enthusiasm over time, it's worth considering that they may not be interested in developing a deeper connection with you. In a healthy relationship, both people actively participate and enjoy the exchange. When one person's responses are consistently flat, it can feel like you're putting energy into a one-sided interaction. Recognizing this sign allows you to take a step back and evaluate the relationship. Rather than investing time and effort in someone who doesn't seem to care, you can redirect your energy toward people who value and appreciate your presence. In the end, genuine enthusiasm can't be faked, and if it's missing, it might be a clue that they're not as interested in building a lasting connection. Number 5, they rarely initiate contact. Healthy relationships are built on mutual effort. Whether it's friendships, family bonds, or romantic connections, people who genuinely care about each other will naturally make an effort to stay in touch. If you find yourself constantly being the one to reach out, make plans, or start conversations, it could be a sign that the other person isn't as invested in the relationship as you are. When someone rarely initiates contact, it can reflect a lack of interest or a desire to keep their distance. You're always the one texting first, inviting them to hang out, or checking in to see how they're doing. If they don't reciprocate these gestures, it can feel disheartening and one-sided. A person who values your presence will show it by occasionally reaching out themselves. They might send a quick message to check in, share something they thought you'd enjoy, or suggest getting together. Even a simple, "Hey, just thinking about you," can go a long way in showing they care. When this effort is absent, it may indicate they're comfortable with the relationship as it is, distant and uncommitted. It's also worth paying attention to how they respond when you do initiate contact. If they reply quickly but don't follow up with questions or make plans, it may suggest they're being polite but not particularly interested in deepening the connection. You might get the sense that they're just responding out of obligation rather than genuine interest. Additionally, if they frequently leave your messages on read, take a long time to respond, or give vague excuses about being too busy, it could be a subtle way of signaling disinterest. Some people might argue that life gets busy, and it's easy to lose track of time, which is true. But when someone values you, they'll make an effort, even if it's just sending a quick message to show you're on their mind. A consistent lack of initiation over time can reveal a lot about where their priorities lie. It's natural for relationships to ebb and flow, but a complete absence of effort from the other person can be a clear sign that they're not as committed. If you recognize this sign in your interactions, consider whether the relationship feels balanced. Are you putting in more effort than you're receiving? Do you feel appreciated and valued? Relationships should feel like a two-way street, where both people contribute and show interest. If you're constantly the one driving the connection, it might be time to reevaluate and focus your attention on people who actively want to stay connected with you. Recognizing this sign can save you from the frustration of investing in a one-sided relationship. While it's okay to reach out and make plans, you deserve to feel that the other person is equally interested in keeping the connection alive. By redirecting your time and energy towards people who truly appreciate you, you'll cultivate relationships that feel more fulfilling and reciprocal. Number 6. They seem easily irritated by you. When someone genuinely enjoys your company, they'll generally be more understanding, patient, and willing to overlook minor annoyances. However, if you find that someone seems irritated by even the smallest things you say or do, it may be a sign that they harbor underlying negative feelings toward you. This irritation can manifest in subtle ways, like sighs, eye rolls, or a tone of voice that suggests they're just barely tolerating your presence. If you notice that they become easily frustrated, this could mean they're finding reasons, whether consciously or unconsciously, to justify their discomfort around you. For instance, they may get annoyed when you ask a simple question, interrupt you with a brusque, "Yeah, I get it," or cut you off mid-sentence. Their reactions can be disproportionately intense compared to the situation, as if being around you heightens their irritability. They may not openly express dislike, but their irritability can be a subtle sign of tension and resentment. You may also find that they frequently disagree with you, even over trivial matters. If every comment you make seems to provoke an eye roll or a snarky remark, it's likely they're not putting in any effort to hide their impatience. People who value you will typically give you the benefit of the doubt and remain respectful, even if they disagree. But someone who secretly dislikes you might treat disagreements as an opportunity to point out flaws in your thinking or make you feel inferior, reflecting a deeper level of disdain or discomfort. Another indicator is if their mood noticeably shifts when you're around. Maybe they were laughing and having a good time with others, but as soon as you join the conversation, they seem to withdraw, becoming quiet or even cold. Alternatively, they might go from being upbeat to irritable, as if your presence alone has dampened their mood. This type of behavior can be particularly hurtful, as it makes you feel like a burden rather than a welcomed part of the group. It's important to distinguish between someone having a bad day and someone consistently reacting negatively to you. Everyone experiences mood swings, and irritation is a natural emotion that we all feel from time to time. However, if their irritability is directed towards you consistently, it may be a sign that they're masking deeper feelings of dislike or discomfort. They may not feel comfortable expressing their true feelings directly, so their irritation serves as an indirect way to create distance. This can help you understand where you stand in the relationship. If someone seems constantly irritated by you, it's worth considering whether this is a relationship you want to invest in. Being around someone who finds fault in everything you do can erode your self-esteem over time. Spending time with people who enjoy your company and lift you up is far more rewarding than enduring someone's constant irritation. Number 7. They're passive-aggressive towards you. Passive aggressiveness is a subtle but powerful way someone can express negative feelings without confronting them directly. If someone secretly dislikes you, they may not feel comfortable openly sharing their true thoughts, so they may rely on passive-aggressive behavior instead. This behavior often includes indirect ways of expressing frustration, resentment, or annoyance, leaving you feeling uncomfortable or even confused. It's like they're sending a message without saying it out loud. One common form of passive-aggressiveness is the backhanded compliment. For example, they might say, "Wow, you actually look nice today," implying that you usually don't. Or they might comment on your work with something like, "I guess that's one way to do it," suggesting that your approach is inadequate or wrong. These comments may seem harmless on the surface, but they can feel more hurtful than genuine criticism because they're often masked as compliments. Another sign of passive-aggressive behavior is when someone consistently makes jokes at your expense. They may disguise hurtful remarks as humor, saying things like, "Oh, I'm just joking," when you look uncomfortable. These jokes might touch on things you're insecure about, making you feel targeted rather than amused. While teasing among friends can be lighthearted, someone who dislikes you might use jokes as a way to undermine your confidence subtly, all while hiding behind a smile. Procrastination or intentional delays can also be a sign of passive aggressiveness. For instance, if you ask them to help with a task or project, they might agree, but then take an unusually long time to follow through or even forget altogether. They may also respond to your messages with unusually short or delayed replies, showing just enough effort to appear polite while making it clear that they're not interested in being responsive. This can be especially frustrating because it feels like they're purposely wasting your time or creating inconveniences. The silent treatment is another form of passive aggression that can leave you feeling isolated or ignored. If you notice that someone periodically stops responding to your messages, doesn't acknowledge you in group settings, or suddenly goes quiet during conversations, it could be a way for them to signal their displeasure. The silent treatment often forces you to question what went wrong, which is exactly what someone who dislikes you may want. They might hope you'll pick up on their feelings and eventually distance yourself. Lastly, watch out for instances of subtle sabotage. If someone dislikes you, they may go out of their way to undermine your efforts, even in small ways. For example, they might accidentally leave you out of an email thread or conveniently forget to tell you about a change in plans. These minor acts of sabotage might seem inconsequential on their own, but over time they can add up and cause frustration, making it clear that they're trying to create difficulties for you. Passive-aggressive behavior can be challenging to address because it's often indirect and easy for the person to deny. However, these behaviors are typically a way for them to express their dislike without openly confronting it. If you notice consistent passive aggressiveness from someone, it's worth considering whether this relationship is truly supportive. By recognizing these behaviors, you can protect your own well-being and choose to invest in relationships that are more transparent, respectful, and fulfilling. Understanding this sign can help you see through the facade of friendliness that passive-aggressive individuals often maintain. While direct communication is generally healthier, someone who dislikes you might avoid confrontation in favor of these subtle jabs. Identifying these cues allows you to make informed choices about your relationships, freeing up space for people who are genuinely supportive and positive influences in your life. Number 8. They exclude you from group activities or conversations. When someone doesn't value your presence, they may find subtle ways to exclude you from social interactions. Whether it's within a group of friends, co-workers, or even family gatherings, being left out can be a clear sign that someone secretly dislikes you. This type of behavior often goes unnoticed at first, but over time, it can become painfully obvious that they're deliberately leaving you out. You might notice that they often plan group activities without inviting you. You may hear about events secondhand, or find out about a gathering on social media after it's already happened. If they make excuses for not including you, like saying they thought you'd be busy or assuming you wouldn't be interested, it could be an attempt to justify the exclusion. While sometimes these reasons may be genuine, a repeated pattern of leaving you out suggests a more intentional decision. Another example of this type of exclusion can occur during conversations. If you're in a group setting and someone frequently ignores your contributions, talks over you, or shifts the conversation away when you speak, it could indicate a lack of interest in what you have to say. They may engage with everyone else but become noticeably silent or dismissive when you add your thoughts. This can leave you feeling invisible and unappreciated, as if your presence doesn't matter to them. They might also use subtle tactics like inside jokes or references that only a few people in the group understand. This can be a way of highlighting their closeness with others while isolating you. If you find that they often exchange glances or whisper to others while leaving you out of the loop, it's a form of social exclusion that signals they're not interested in building a connection with you. You may also notice that they avoid eye contact with you in group settings, while comfortably engaging with everyone else. This selective attention can be disheartening, especially if you're trying to join the conversation. The exclusion can be subtle, like never directly addressing you, or only responding when someone else brings you into the conversation. This type of behavior is their way of signaling that you're not a priority in their social world. It's worth noting that sometimes people inadvertently leave others out without any ill intentions. However, if you're consistently excluded from group activities, conversations, or shared moments, it may be a sign that the person or people involved are not as invested in having you around. Being aware of this can help you make choices about where you spend your time and with whom. Surrounding yourself with people who make you feel included, valued, and appreciated is essential for healthy relationships. No one deserves to feel left out or overlooked, and by paying attention to patterns of exclusion, you can prioritize relationships that bring you joy and fulfillment. It's always better to spend time with people who actively want you around and celebrate your presence. Number 9. They downplay or dismiss your achievements. When someone genuinely supports you, they'll celebrate your successes and achievements, whether big or small. However, if a person secretly dislikes you, they may downplay or dismiss your accomplishments as a way to diminish your confidence. This behavior can be subtle, but often leaves you feeling deflated, as if your successes aren't valid or important. For example, you might share a recent achievement at work or a personal milestone you're proud of, only to have them respond with a lukewarm, "Oh, that's nice," or "good for you," without any real enthusiasm. They might even try to shift the conversation back to themselves or change the subject entirely, avoiding any genuine acknowledgement of your success. Another common tactic is for them to minimize your accomplishments by making backhanded comments. They might say something like, "Well, anyone could have done that," or "It's not that impressive, really," suggesting that your success was either easy or unremarkable. These comments can be hurtful, as they diminish your achievements and imply that you haven't actually accomplished anything of real value. They may also compare your success to someone else's to make it seem less significant. For example, they might say, "Oh, that's great, but did you hear about what someone else did? That's even more impressive." This type of comparison is designed to make you feel like your achievements are always second-rate, further suggesting that they don't view you as someone worth celebrating. If they're constantly finding ways to redirect or downplay your success, it's a clear indication that they're uncomfortable with the idea of you succeeding. Their inability to celebrate your wins may be rooted in jealousy or resentment, but it often reflects deeper feelings of dislike. By not validating your achievements, they're subtly reinforcing a sense of inadequacy, making you feel that no matter what you accomplish, it will never be enough for their approval. It's natural for people to feel envious from time to time, but when someone consistently dismisses or downplays your successes, it's a sign that they don't have your best interests at heart. A supportive person will encourage you and take genuine pride in your achievements, while someone who dislikes you may try to undercut those moments as a way to reinforce their own superiority or diminish your self-esteem. You deserve to be around people who celebrate your victories and make you feel proud of what you've accomplished. By surrounding yourself with those who lift you up, you'll find that your achievements feel even more meaningful and fulfilling. Navigating relationships can be tricky, especially when you sense that someone might not have your best interests at heart. By paying attention to these subtle signs, you can gain clarity about who truly values your presence and who might be holding back their genuine feelings. Remember, it's not about jumping to conclusions or fostering negativity. It's about understanding where to invest your time and energy for meaningful, reciprocal connections. As you reflect on these signs, ask yourself, are there people in your life who leave you feeling drained, unappreciated, or undervalued? Do certain interactions seem to consistently chip away at your confidence rather than build you up? Take a moment to consider how these relationships make you feel. Do they bring joy and positivity into your life, or do they leave you questioning your worth? It's okay if you discover that some relationships aren't as supportive as you'd like. In fact, acknowledging this can be empowering. By surrounding yourself with people who celebrate your achievements, value your thoughts, and enjoy your company, you can cultivate a circle that uplifts and energizes you. So, what steps can you take today to prioritize the connections that genuinely make you feel good? Are there people in your life you need to set boundaries with, or perhaps new connections you'd like to nurture? Remember, you deserve relationships that bring out the best in you. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced any of these signs, and how did you handle it? Let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, take care and focus on relationships that truly matter.